changing your life one story at a time. This is the Chicken Soup for the Soul podcast with Editor-in-Chief Amy Newmark.
Hey, it's Amy Newmark with your daily dose of Chicken Soup for the Soul inspiration. It's Thoughtful Thursday, and it's almost Memorial Day weekend. So I think we should talk about getting unplugged and spending some quality time with the people we love. You know, when I started putting together our most recent book, Chicken Soup for the Soul, The Joy of Less, I expected it to be all about decluttering our homes and our schedules, getting rid of excess possessions and getting rid of too many commitments on our calendars. But a third theme emerged as we read the thousands of stories that were submitted for the book. And that theme was about getting unplugged. So here are two stories that I think will motivate you to spend a little less time with devices and a little more time with living, breathing, real people. So our first story is called Goodbye TV, and it's by Cindy O'Leary. Cindy says that she started to realize that she was addicted to TV. She kept the TV on all the time, while doing housework, while eating lunch alone, while taking a break in the afternoon. Sometimes she just kept it on for noise, for company, but it was becoming mind-numbing. And then she would justify the TV. Well, she was watching the news. She was staying informed. And then when her husband came home, well, the TV should stay on because, after all, he had been working all day, and now he needed some relaxation time in front of the TV, too. Cindy realized that the TV was on in their house 15 hours a day. She just had to go cold turkey. So with her husband's consent, she unhooked everything. She returned the equipment to the cable company, and she got back to life again. She organized her scrapbooks. She talked to friends. She read actual books. She started having a life. Now, another writer in that same book about the joy of less, Mary Anglin Coulter, tells us that she got tired of seeing her 3 kids with their noses buried in their electronic devices all the time. She says that in her home, they have 4 television sets, 2 tablets, 2 computers, and 5 cell phones. And they can play games on all of those smart devices, too. But Mary says that when she walks into a room and sees her 6-year-old, 12-year-old, and 14-year-old all bent over devices, it doesn't feel like those are smart devices at all. In fact, there's something quite unnatural about the whole thing. Mary says she was guilty of spending too much time on social media and news sites herself. And she realized that she was starting to feel disconnected from her own children. She says they were growing, changing and making new friends, deciding on a new favorite color, or maybe even developing a new skill. They were finding a new online celebrity to follow. I'd ask questions, but get no answers. Fine doesn't really describe how one has been doing lately. Mary says her family had become more connected to the online world than to each other. So she announced what she called blackout night. Devices would be turned off, and the family would play games and make art together. They could do anything they wanted, but with no electronic devices. Mary thought her kids would complain, but they didn't, not for a second. They loved the idea. They all chimed in with ideas for the fun things that they could do. Even the teenager. Mary was stunned. This was not the reaction she had expected. So they decided that Fridays would be their blackout nights, and they've had a great time on Fridays. They've made a fire pit and roasted hot dogs and s'mores. They played football. They've talked about space travel and looked up at the stars in the sky. They've colored. They've made homemade pizza. And now, she says, on Friday nights, the kids start turning off their electronic devices before she even asks them to. So it's clear Mary's kids needed time to connect as a family as much as she did. Her story is called Trading Bandwidth for Bonding, and that's exactly what happened in her family. Mary says, "Who knew unplugging could lead to feeling so plugged in?" My kids are grown, so I'm not in that position anymore. But let me know how you do. Shoot me an email about this podcast at amy@chickensoupforthesoul.com. Now, tomorrow is Friend Friday, and we're going to be inspired again. this time by one of our writers, Sophronia Scott, who has a new novel coming out. I'm Amy Newmark. Thank you for listening to the Chicken Soup for the Soul podcast today. I hope these stories are helping you the way they've helped me. And share the benefits, tell someone you love to start listening to. And if you want to read more from Chicken Soup for the Soul, The Joy of Less, please go to our website, chickensoup.com.